Oh my gosh! I am going to say good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. This is me. I'm not a hologram. I'm not on Zoom. Pinch. It is me. Unmute yourself. One more time. Good morning. Thank you so much. It's so nice to see actually people. And coming here. I see. I can't even talk. But you don't want to really see me today. You want to see Anna. So welcome everybody. Let's give a warm welcome to Anna.
Good morning, everyone. Just to make sure that you can see me, I decided to put some red, bright colors. And I think I'm almost matching Shelley's enthusiasm with her bright, enthusiastic, happy personality. So thank you very much for coming, dear colleagues. It's so great to see you. I hope you can learn something from me and we can share some thoughts about ear training. Just a few words about myself so you know a little bit about me. So recently I got my PhD candidacy from Moscow in research in piano pedagogy. I have my master's degree from UBC in piano performance. I've studied with Kum Sing Lee, Henri-Paul Sicsic. I had masterclasses with Robert Silverman, Jane Coop. So all of our Vancouver superstar teachers. And before that, I was actually here in Quantum College, Langley. I was studying with Jane Hayes. Do you guys know Jane Hayes? Yeah, she's a wonderful teacher and wonderful mentor. And like going backwards, before that, I was in Latvia, which is one of the Soviet Union republics at that time. And I came here when I was 18. So all of my younger schooling from grade 1 until early university, I've done in Latvia, following Russian traditions of music teaching, music studying. And I've learned a lot, and ear training that the school of ear training that I've received from Russia, it was invaluable to me. And I hope I can offer you some tips that were very helpful to me, and maybe we can incorporate that in the RCM and have our students do spectacular at the exams. I think the very first tip that I'd like to give you is, it's very hard to do actually, is to take ear training out of your piano lesson, if it's possible. Do you agree with that? What are you thinking? Yes. It's nearly not enough time during the piano lessons to include ear training in it. Ear training, sight reading, etc. So what I did with my students, I came up with 30-minute time slots during the week where I grouped them all together. Some students similar levels, like say level 1 through level 3, level 4 to level 6, and then more advanced students, and I teach them on Zoom in a group setting. It's great for parents because it's very budget friendly, because you split your tuition in 3 or 4, and kids have a lot of fun. As you know, group lessons, they inspire this I'd say very healthy competition between the students. They want to do better. They compare each other's scores, and it can make it as a game for them. So that would be my first tip. If you can do that, create an ear training class as a half an hour time slot during the week. Okay, so now I want to go following my slides that I created for you, and to jump into the RCM ear training, and I want to talk to you about advanced ear training, so for students of grade 10. And I believe that in that, when I talk about grade 10 incorporates all of the other grades. So if you can teach students of level grade 10, you can teach them all. Okay, so let's get started. How to get 100% from a brand new student quickly on intervals, chords, and chord progressions. Okay, so everybody knows that ear training, as I tell my students, it's cost only 10%. It only costs you 10%, and my students go, oh no, can we just not do it? It's only 10%. Let's just focus more on pieces. And I say, well, it's really important. It will improve your playing, and I think it's very valuable. And so I explained to them that the intervals on 2%, chords 2%, chord progressions 2%, and playback 4%. So as I said, this is level 10 advanced RCM. Okay, and question for you, do you have students that you prepare for level 10? Yes, okay, good. All right. As I said, the other grades, because the level 10 incorporates all the most advanced methodology, so then for the other students, it's very similar, okay? All right, so what do you think, what are your students struggling the most with? Intervals? Playback, yes, absolutely. Playback is tough, especially for level 10. Because all of a sudden, you shock your students at the first class, you say, okay, we're gonna play both hands now. They go, huh? What? Especially if your student just barely finished his level 6 or 7 exam and parents are pushing him or her into level 10. So you are stuck. What to do? I like to break it into little manageable chunks of information. Oh yeah, see, I knew that you're gonna say it's playback. So, and we start first with the left hand. We drill first the left hand. I don't even ask them to play back the melody at all. We drill the left hand. So if you're doing grade 10, students required to play as an accompaniment a progression of 1-4-5-1. Okay, so they can play it as a triad, 1, 4, 5, 1. Or you can play it in a closed position. Okay, you're familiar with it, right? Yes, I'm sure. So what we do, I ask the student to memorize all of the left hand in all of the keys up to 4 sharps and flats, major, minor. So we do that for a week or 2 or even 3, because I'm not moving forward with them unless they know their left hand. And as a fun tip, what I do, I put a timer on and I say, okay, let's check how long it will take me to play through, and it takes me 20 to 30 seconds. Next one, F major, B flat. So, and I go like that, and then I tell student, okay, let's see how long it will take you. Boom. And it takes them a very long time, but they feel very motivated. They almost, at home, they go practice, and then they turn the timer on, and then they sit and practice. Oh, I got it under a minute. Oh, I got it under 40 seconds. So it's motivational for them to see the improvement. Otherwise, it can become very boring. So that's what I do with them. After they memorize their left hand, I need to explain to them how does the harmony change according to the time signature? Because when melody is harmonized, it's not a random. They don't change chords randomly. If it's 2/4 time, the harmony will change on the first and then on the second beat. So if I would do a melody, let's say 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So I explain to my students that you need to feel where the main beats are, where the strong beats are. So we'll do in 2/4 time, it's, as I said, it's on the first and the second. In 3/4 time, it's on the strong beat. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, and so far and so on. In 4/4, it's on first and third. I could do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And of course, it's not as basic as that, but I'm just doing it for the purpose of presentation. And then the 6/8, it's similar to 3/4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what we can do, for example, I play student an example of playback, and I ask them to clap on the main beat with me. So when I play, pa 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 pa, so that's how they feel where they have to change the chord. And then as I sing it or as I play on one piano, they can play on the second piano or on the same piano, depends on the register. They can actually play the left hand. Da, 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 da. So then right away they already know the left hand, even without knowing how to actually play back the melody, and they know where the chords change. So it's already very useful for them. So they're not left in La La Land wondering what's going on, how can we harmonize it. So it's very helpful for them. Okay. Then the melody line. There are tips, of course, for the melody line. As you know, for the playback, melody will always start on the most likely will start on the first. It can start on the third and less likely on the fifth. So again, students should know it's a D major. It will start either on D, F sharp, or A. So it's very easy. You guys all know that, I'm sure. Yes, and obviously ends. Also, it will end on tonic or median or the third. I haven't encountered it ending on the fifth. It may, but most likely tonic. Now maybe you can help me with that one. In Russian, there is such a word. It says, if I say it in Russian, called опевание. Опевание, this is this. How do we call it in English? I call it a turn. It's a turn, and it could be. So basically what you do below and above the tonic into the tonic and vice versa. So in Russian it's called опевание, sing around the tonic. So what I also teach my students is that most likely the melody on the playback will finish with the turn. So something or it can be around the median. Okay, so the student, when the student is playing back the left hand for you, like for instance 1451, let's say in D major. No. So the student can play, and then you can actually practice that with the student. So the student prepared, they know how the music, the melody may end. And then Let me just check. There is also use of ascending and descending 3-note scale to establish the tonic. So at the end. Okay, so different little ending options so that you can give your student right away. So they are prepared, they know what's going to happen. What I have learned in the past that the judges award partial marks if students can even get the direction of the melody correct. If students can, if the judge play, oh my favorite, what was it? If student plays, the judge will still award some partial marks, at least if you get the direction of a melody correctly. Okay, so you just tell your students, play the left hand accurately, make sure you change it on the right beat, and on tonic have some kind of a turn at the end, and you will get a partial mark. And my students came from the exam and they said, I don't know what I did. It was nowhere nearly close to what the judge played, but I played what you told me, and they got 3.5 out of 4. The judge awards scores for very good left hand, correct chords changing on the right beat, and starting ending on the tonic, the direction up and down, and then that's it. So I find that maybe level 10 is actually easier than other levels because of the left hand. As far as earlier grades, before level 10, that similar tips apply as far as the melody line. And I also would encourage to start with a fewer notes. So first to identify, like say play the tonic triad, and you can say, okay, which note I'm playing. Is it mediant? Is it third? Is it first? Is it fifth? So start with that. Start with identifying the first note. Then maybe include only 3 notes. Play the melody, just a part of it. Or no, left hand. And ask student, do you hear the music going stepwise down and stepwise up? Then maybe include a skip and ask a student, can you identify the skip? Do you hear the skip, or do you hear it stepwise? So tips like that. I will be wrapping up the playback portion. Do you have any questions? Can you understand me well? Can you hear me well? Okay, you find it helpful? Yes? Okay, excellent. All right, so the other 3 sections, the chords, intervals, and chord progressions, are about an equal difficulty for my students. So let's check what I have next. I have chord progressions next. I'll give you a moment to enjoy yes. This is a typical student that I may have. I'm trying to tell them at this point, we have to use logic, because the chord progressions, it's logical. It's really, you cannot have 4 after 5, and it's, yes. So, moving to the serious part. Okay, so chord progressions for level 10, a student is required to recognize the tonic first, subdominant fourth, fifth, cadential, and the sixth in random logical order. Okay, and the judge will be playing, or the adjudicator is playing 5 chords, with the first chord being always a tonic. So that's easy, at least they know first chord. So I am hoping that when they are at level 10, they have some understanding of theory, and an understanding of logical usage of the chords. If they don't, that's okay, I teach them. So, the most common progressions, 1-4-5, 1-4-5-1, okay, which is our cadence that we play at the end of level 5 and level 8 a little bit. So we have 1-4 and then, okay, 1-4-5. That's very common progressions. I should memorize that. Then we have 1-6-4. So this one we play at the end of level 9 and 10. I'm talking about scales. At the end of level 9 and 10 scales. So there's always 1-6-4. Okay, so this is most common. Then there is cadential 2-5. Okay, so for this one, the bass stays the same. So students can listen for the bass. And now there are other turns like 1-5-1 and 1-4-1 and 1-4-1. How do we tell apart? How do we recognize if it's 1-5-1 and 1-4-1? So of course we can listen to the bass. Some students can hear that. A lot of students cannot. Oh yeah. I'm sure you also have that. We find a connection, we find some kind of a way, emotional way to explain our students, I could say, on emotional level. How do they feel? How does this make them feel? How does it sound to you? Okay, so 1-5-1, it sounds like a classical ending of the piece. That's how 1-5-1 sounds. It sounds final. It sounds like the piece is done. When we do it in another inversion, one, or even though it finishes on a median, it still sounds final. So that's 1-5-1. 1-4-1. 1-4-1, I named it churchy. Churchy. Do you know what I mean? Yes. So it's at the end of worships. It's like Amen, Amen. 1-4-1. That's a typical ending of a hymn. Okay. So that's what I tell my students. They can tell apart. Yesterday I was testing it on completely non-musical person, on a professional listener who is my operator / my husband. We were trying to, I just want to see, can you tell apart? Can you tell apart if it's churchy or if it's the end of the classical song? He said, okay, yeah, okay, that sounds churchy. So they can relate the more you play it, okay? And 5-6, it's a very interesting turn. 5-6 it's the most unusual one when we play 1-4-5. Oh, I love that one. Students can usually tell that apart. Okay. The way we're doing with 5-6 is the way we're recognizing it, that it sounds completely different. And well, it's a deceptive cadence, obviously. In major, it sounds minor. In minor, it sounds major. So we are, let me see, etc. I think these are the most common progressions. By the way, 1-4-6, it's very, 1-6-4. The way I will recognize it with my students. this is quite famous little ditto that everybody knows. Let me see. Oh yes, and a big no-no. 4 cannot follow 5. So let your students know that you cannot have 4 after 5. Okay, so in chord progressions, they're presented in a major or minor key, and some of the chords in the minor key will sound major and vice versa. So what are the chords that in a major progression will sound minor? So if I play for you a progression, they're all major except one. So it's a deceptive. So the 6th is minor. So you can ask your students to identify if it's a progression written in a major key. You have to listen for, check if all chords are sounding major. If there's one that sounds minor, that's your 6th chord. So, and if I play 1, 6, 4, major, that's a minor. So that must be 6. And then they should know, then after 6 is most likely it's 4. Well, then probably then, so that's cadential because we share the bass, and then tonic. Okay. And then in a minor key, we have 2 chords that can be major. The dominant, obviously, and then the 6th chord. All right. Yes. And I did talk about most common beginnings and most common endings. Okay. So, are you guys comfortable if I play some of the progressions for you and you can tell me what do you hear at the end? Do you hear 1, 5, or 6? Yes? Shall we play? Shall we play a game?
Yeah, do it.
All right, let's do it. Let's do it.
There's prizes at the end, everybody.
Okay, so maybe we can try, so the most common is 1, 5, or 6. Okay, so let's do something easy. Let's do D major. Okay. Let's do this. It's a tonic, yes, it's very simple. It's moving on to chords. As you see, I have a whole bunch of little chords entangled, and I say, untangle your mind. Hope you get my little joke. All right, so chords worth 2% of the mark. And then for level 10, we have major triad. There's a 4-note chords. Then major first inversion. There is minor root. Minor first inversion. Okay, then we have dominant 7ths. Diminished 7ths. Then we have augmented triads. And then there is major major 7ths and minor 7ths. Okay, so these are all of the chords that your level 10 student will need to know. What I do with my students, we identify chords based on their quality. Do you do that? Okay, so which chords sound happy to you? Major root, right? Major first. What other chords? Dominant 7ths, right? Yes. What about major? It's an interesting chord. So this chord, I ask my students, it's very individual. We decide together. Do we make it a happy chord or not? So we'll get back to that. What are the sad chords? Minor, then minor first. What about diminished? Yes, for some. What about augmented? For some. I have another subcategory for those ones. I will share with you what I came up with. And then we have this, as I said, augmented, diminished, and then we have major, major, and minor, minor. So that I'm going to show you. Yes. So diminished seventh and augmented triad is my category. Subcategory, I call them magic chords. Like, take magic wand and like in a Disney movie. And also the augmented can be also magic. Another one. Which one sounds more magic to you? The diminished or augmented? Augmented. Yeah. Yes, for my students as well. So they qualify the diminished more of a sad magic, and augmented they think it's a weird sounding magic chord. Like everybody has their own. I talk to my students individually. We decide together what does it sound like to you. And then I have a different subcategory for major, major, and minor, minor. I think these are more contemporary chords, less classical, I'd say. So that's why I call them as modern. So the major, major chord, I think about it as more open, that wants to go into the, wants to go up to the octave. Okay, so that's a major, major. It's a major seventh. And I ask students to feel it. Can it be reached? Can you reach an octave? So they like that. And then minor, minor seventh. It's more of a jazzy chord. And I just improvise a little bit for them. Okay, so that's minor, minor. The way that when I introduced all of the chords to my students, there are a few ways I've asked them to identify chords. I ask them to narrow down. I play a chord and I ask them, which category does it belong to? Is it happy? Is it sad? Is it magic? Is it modern? First. They don't need to tell me exactly which chord it is. First, they have to at least narrow down the feeling of it. Okay? So, should we try to play? Okay. I know you all guys are spectacular here. Okay, let's do this one. So, which category? Sad. Yeah, so they tell me sad, and then first we just do that. And then what about this one? Happy. It's very easy for them. And then there is another one. Modern. Yes. So we do that first. And then we are narrowing down inside of the category. Let's choose one of the categories and let's try to narrow down. How about major, but happy category? How can we tell apart tonic, the root, the inversion, and the dominant seventh? Because they're all happy sounding, so how do we tell apart? Okay, so the root, final, very stable. Okay, there it's the end of the piece. It's a simple happy chord, just a simple, normal, basic happy chord. First inversion. First inversion, students feel it that it's more open. It's more open, it's happy, but it doesn't have the final finality to it. And then the dominant seventh I identify as happy but rich sounding. It has more notes to it. Of course, it's 4 different notes. Okay, so first with my students we narrow down the category if it's happy, sad, and then we dig further. Does it sound open to you? Does it sound rich? Does it sound simple, happy? So that's what we do. For minor, should I quickly go over about minor, root and first? Okay, so minor, simple, sad. Simple, sad. And then first inversion is similar to major. It's a little bit more open chord, and it's not quite stable as far as the finality. There's more to be said after that. You don't feel like the music has finished. And if your students can hear that there are only 3 notes, 3 different notes, that would be great. Okay, then diminished, augmented. For the diminished, can you student tell apart, like it's 4 notes or 3 notes? Is it hard for them? Yeah, it is. Especially on Zoom. That's the worst chord. Yes, 4 notes and then we have 3 notes. Ouch. It's tough because diminished has 4 notes, so it appears it's larger, but it's diminished. So students think, oh, it's more open, it must be augmented, but it's 4 notes. And then augmented, it's more narrow than diminished. So they can say, oh, it's kind of smaller. Well, it's obviously diminished. No, it's opposite. So I tell them, I explain to them that structure, and I tell them it's a little bit upside down. It's a little bit different. So if they can spot that, that would be great. And I do ask them to try their best to count the notes. Sometimes it's successful, sometimes it's not. That's why we use a combination of tools to identify it. We hear, okay, does it sound sad? More sad? Is it a magic? Is it sad magic? Okay, it is sad magic. Okay, now let me count the notes. 1, 2, 3. I don't know, maybe 3, maybe 4, but it sounds sad. Okay, I think it's diminished. So you kind of use the combination of all different tools at your disposal. And then with augmented, as I said, 3 notes. So I always tell students it's diminished is more dense, it's more densely packed. Augmented is a little bit more of there's more space in between the notes. Also, augmented chords, it's all on kind of my personal intuition. It sounds, I don't know if you think about it, it sounds like you're looking at your reflection on a pond and somebody just went like this on the water, so you're like, ah. So I tell my students that, they like that. Like, so the crooked reflection, not diminished though. Okay. Have you tried to ask your students to sing the chords? Are they cooperating? No, they will. Right? No, they will never sing. That's what I found a little bit challenging because in my early education from Russia, Latvia, I was singing them. We had 2 solfege classes per week for the duration of my study. So 8 years, I had government music schools, and I had 2 solfege classes per week for 8 years. So I was singing them, I was playing them, I was transposing them, I was doing everything I can to them. So that's why the knowledge that is in my head is solid, and it's incredibly difficult for 1 hour, one class per week to squeeze all of this information. So that's why when I ask you, like when I gave you my first tip, is if you can separate the class into another class per week, that would be the best if it's possible. And so at least ask your students to play chords on the piano if they cannot sing it. That would be also very helpful. At least they can play it. For instance, I ask my students to choose a note. Let's say this week we're playing everything from F. So play major, minor, augmented, diminished, so they can play it, and this way they're getting better at recognizing them. And there is another quick tip on recognizing. Basically, you can do that with chords and intervals. Is that I call it building up strategy. So you take two completely different chords. Start with that. Give me a suggestion, please, of two completely different sounding chords. Dominant seventh, and then you may think that they don't recognize. My student just yesterday, diminished seventh, dominant seventh, but so dominant seventh and diminished seventh. So start with those two different chords and see if they can tell us apart. Okay? Then when they got a 10 out of 10, throw in other chords. Major, major, sevenths. Okay, they got that right? Next. Okay, and just add chords as you go. Don't present them with first all of the major group. All of the major root, major first, dominant seventh. It will be a big mess, okay, especially if they haven't done this before. So just completely different chords altogether. Okay. Let me see. Do you have any questions? Yes?
You mentioned about the solfege system that you learned.
That's right.
Was it a fixed tone or was it a movable tone?
It was fixed.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah, yeah, if it says do, it will be do, this will be do, this will be re forever. E.
That's tough then.
I'm sorry?
That's very hard.
It is, yes, yeah, it was not movable. That's right, yeah, we were singing it as it is. And we were actually asked to transpose everything up to all of the sharps and flats and upside down and inside out. And the teacher had a timer and a whip. No whip, but I remember till now we were sitting in the classroom. I was my pre-college, and there were 20 kids in the class. Teacher says a timer. Anna, go. C major, 0 sharp, G major, 1 sharp, F sharp, D major, and it's timer ticking. And that's what, like the drills, impossible. I loved it. That's what I do with my students. I call it Russian boot camp. So talking about boot camps, what you can do, as I was telling you, take ear training out of your piano class. Utilize your winter break, spring break, and summertime to create the boot camp class styles. Like say 1 week, 2 to 3, everybody logs in on Zoom, or when pandemic's more or less under control, group lessons. And then you can do intensive week ear training, and it sticks because I did this with my students during the summer on Zoom, and then we went back to school and there was not enough time during the lesson. There was no exam coming up, so it's like fine, we will just stop ear training. Half a year later they still remembered. Okay, so you can do it like seasonal kind of boot camps. I like that. You can call it boot camp. Yeah, so any more questions, feedback, please?
I do have a question. So if you're going to teach a student to sing the solo
Yes.
thing for, let's say, a C major,
Yes.
dominant seventh, so it's going to be so T, Re, Fa, right? Is that how you teach?
I would ask them not to use the notes. I would ask them just to go on la 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 la.
Okay.
Yeah. La 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 la.
Okay.
Yes.
So instead of putting solfege into each note.
It's very hard, especially if we have very limited time. So the way I would teach them to sing chords, I will ask them first, play a chord and try to pitch match, then play 3 notes and la 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 la, and try to sing the next note. Then you can narrow down, do 2 notes, la 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 la, and just do 1 note. So I would do like that. I would not ask them to sing solfege, especially if they've never done this before, especially if they will refuse to sing. So there's so many challenges. I will talk about singing when we do intervals, because chords I found impossible to I was once had 1 or 2 students that would willingly sing chords. Everybody else would say no, not happening. Okay, if you can make them sing, that would be awesome. Yes, it's tough for that. I want to move on to the intervals. Yes? Okay. Oh, now you are up for a treat. This is my dog. Kidding. I do have a doggy. Hop your way to the top. It's just so precious. I have my song chart, interval song chart that you have. It's a combination of just my own personal favorites, the ones that I came up with, the ones that are available online, the ones that students suggested to me. Nowadays, a lot of students don't know any songs, right? Well, they have to learn it. There's YouTube. So, love story. No, they won't even know. Their parents would know. Their parents would know, right? Especially, yeah. But no, they won't know. So I mean, there is no way around it. They have to learn the songs. They just have to go on the YouTube. You can provide them with links, and they have to memorize and learn the songs, because otherwise they will not be able to tell the intervals at all. Okay, and then especially the intervals in a like far away, over perfect fifths, 6s, 7s, 9s. That's another story. So I have my list of songs. I can quickly just go over this. So minor second is my favorite. How can you not guess minor second? I think everybody is very good at that. I tell them, well, besides the chromatic and closest and furelis, I tell them it sounds smudgy. It sounds like you stepped into something. And it's at the bottom of your shoe. So that's minor second. Okay, then major second is happy birthday. And then descending, happy birthday to you. They like that. And then minor third, we all know it's O Canada. Minor thirds, I mean, there is Hey Jude, but they don't know that. What? Hey who? So, yeah, that's true. I do. It's a sad ding dong. It's it's a doorbell, but sad. It's very sad. They seem to relate to that. They like that one. Then Frosty the Snowman also. Yeah, absolutely. Like everybody has collection. Yeah, Frosty, good one. Like there's so many. Then major third, we have, and descending, it's a regular doorbell. When somebody's at the door, some of them don't even know what the doorbell sounds like. So, but we have to make some kind of a connection. Okay, and then we have the fourth. Everybody knows that, and then they all know that Little Night Music. They just don't know what it is, but they know the tune. Okay, and then we have the fifth. Oh no, there's a tritone, also an oldie. The Simpsons. Yes? No? And then the descending tritone, I find that the best way they hear it is the tritone. It's kind of like a little bit of a siren sound. Okay, then we have our Twinkle Twinkle, perfect fifth, minuet in G, minor sixth. Okay, I like versions of sad. So minor sixth is sad Jingle Bells. I think, because a lot of students, they hear it's kind of a Jingle Bells, but it's not. So we're doing that. This is just my songs, and I'm sure you have your list, but this is what I like to use. And then we have Love Story. Then the Happy Jingle Bells. Then major six descending. Nobody knows. Nobody. So that's, and they nobody knows that song from the students. They don't know it. So link to YouTube, and they have to memorize it. Yes, for sure. Okay, then we have the sevenths. Oh, the sevenths are difficult. They don't know any songs. So there's a place for us. Okay, Barbara Streisand, most famous version. So that's a very good one. And then for the descending, that's American in Paris, Gershwin's musical. They listen into it, and they can tell. They can tell. So more I play for them, the more they recognize. Or then major seventh intervals, I tell them that it's like your piano is sounding out of tune. Okay, and then we have our perfect octaves. Sometimes, do you find that students confuse perfect octave and perfect fifths? Yeah, find that? They're both hollow intervals. For me, I ask them to see, do you feel like it's the same note far, or it's two different notes? Especially when you play them together. But I'll get to that, to identifying harmonic intervals a little bit later. I'll finish with going through the songs. And then we have nines. For level 10, students need to recognize minor nines and major nines. This is tough. What I tell my students that minor nines falls back into an octave. Okay, or okay, and if you play enough times, they can hear that. And how to tell the difference between the nines and the sevenths. The sevenths, it goes up to an octave rather than falls. Okay, these are hard to tell. Yes, I know. And then we have major ninths. Major ninth is the widest interval. I tell my students, if you hear a very odd sounding interval that is very far away, that probably is major ninths. And of course, it's a happy birthday song over an octave. Hard to tell, yeah? It's hard to tell. So, as I said, if you played more and more, it's possible, but we listen to it as a very, the furthest, the widest interval. Okay, now, as far as solfege, how do we sing the intervals as a solfege? What I first ask them to memorize the songs, and then I'll give them the note and say, okay, let's sing from this note, O Canada. O That's a solfege. That's what we do. We sing the beginnings of the song. And then let's do perfect fours down. So perfect fours down is Little Night Music. La, 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 la. So that's the best way for them to sing. That's this trick that I discovered for them to actually sing the intervals. Is to sing the beginnings of the songs rather than the solfege. They cannot figure it out, especially when it's fast, when we have to move, they have to sing the songs. So I ask them, let's choose one note and sing most of the intervals up and down. Okay, so yes, so for level 10, intervals can be played ascending, descending, and together. For teachers who have students of level 10, do your students have difficulties identifying when all of a sudden you're playing intervals solid together? Yes, it is. For this one, I have some tips. At this point, they usually can tell if the interval is happy or sad. So I tell them that happy intervals are your major third and major sixth. Major third is close position, closer, and major sixth is further away. But these are the two that are happy. Sad intervals are minor third and minor sixth. Then we have perfect fourth, perfect fifth, and perfect octave. So these are more of a hollow sounding intervals, octave. Some students do recognize the fourth as being happy or fifth as being happy, but I ask them to think about them as a more hollow, like empty. And also fourths and fifths. It can be kind of a medieval trumpet call. That's how maybe you can tell apart if it's an octave. Because octave cannot be a medieval trumpet horn. No, not at all. So that's fourth, and fifths also can sound like that, unfortunately. Unfortunately, yes. Some students, you can ask them if the interval is rather narrow to fill in the notes inside. La, 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 la. Some can do it, some cannot. But we try everything and see what sticks. Okay, we try everything, and it's just a combination of different strategies and hoping that that particular one will be useful for them. What else we have? And then we have those tritones, major seventh and minor ninth. The tritone, major seventh and minor ninth. Yeah, so this. Okay, so these are kind of unpleasant sounding intervals, and then we go for, okay, so this is a closer unpleasant. And then we ask, can this go da-da? Do you hear it going into the tonic? And then, do you hear it falling down? So this is a subgroup. And now we have a very interesting interval. Minor seventh. It's a minor interval, but it doesn't sound minor because of it. Dominant seventh is based on that, and we recognize it as major. So this is a subcategory on its own. It's a happier sounding minor interval that wants to maybe resolve. Okay, different tips. I have what I want to say that each student is unique, and they all hear intervals, chords, progressions, and playbacks in their own way. Okay, and our job as teachers is to try everything we can, and that's why I have so many different options for just one particular section that we try. Okay, do you hear it happy sad? Okay, no you don't. Fine. Can you fill in the notes in between? No you can't. Okay, can you tell apart from this to that? So you try many things, and then hopefully one of those or combination of a few tools will help. And right now I have a new student that came to me, and I had never had ear training before, and I'm going through all of the steps with him. And what I found works, for instance, for the chords and interval, is asking questions. For example, I play an interval or even a chord, and I say, and like he right away wants to volunteer an answer, like blah. Like, no, it's wrong. Immediate, yes. Okay, just wait. Listen. How does it sound to you? Is it a stable, let's say an interval? Is it happier interval? Okay, yes, it sounds happy. Okay, good. So which intervals do you know as happy? Okay, teacher told me it's major third and major sixth. Okay. Is it how far it is from the note to note? Because it's kind of far. Okay, so then it is what? Major sixth. So asking student the question and guiding them through each step, I think that works the best. Same with chord progressions. Same with, well, yes, playback as far as there are ways, yes. Especially chords and intervals. You can ask questions to identify. Let me just check. Does anybody have students with perfect pitch? Do you find it a little difficult with them as far as theory? Like they can hear it's D to G sharp. They hear that, but can they make a connection from that D to G sharp? It's actually a tritone rather than a fourth, a perfect fourth. Sometimes, yes and no. Because I have a student with perfect pitch and he tells me E to C. And I said, okay, and what is the interval? E to C? Sixth, okay, is it major or minor? So that's what I found, that's the challenges, that they can hear it. So you will need to teach them the theory behind that. So I teach them theory. How do you teach them major sixth? Like, how do you teach them intervals? Do you have theoretical tools? I have my own. Do you have like a template that you use? Yes?
I usually find that the kids with perfect pitch are able to sing a major scale.
Yes.
And they sing the scale up to that pitch, and then they can differentiate that's major or minor.
That's right. That's awesome. Yes, it's a great thing. I also do, I ask, they have to practice that. Like say, if it's a sixth, E to C, they can usually do an inversion, E to C, so C to E, that's a major third. So that means the other one is minor sixth. So it could be a quicker way, right? Rather than go, trying to figure out, they go poof, and then they know the closer interval. Like say, they should know major second, major third, perfect fourth, flip, perfect fifth. So it's kind of teach them that. Also, if it's a closer interval, maybe counting semitones. Like say, minor second, 1 semitone, 2, 3, 4, and they almost memorize, okay, major third is 4 semitones, minor third is 3. It could be another way, if just not to lock them into the scale. So that's another way. But perfect pitch students, I found that sometimes it's challenging because they just don't know the name of the interval, especially if it's far apart. All right. Do you have any questions for me? I think I'm gonna be wrapping up. I went really quickly through my presentation. Shelley, I went really quickly through my presentation, and I will show you a couple more things, but I'm looking into wrapping up. So, anybody have questions, feedback? What do you want to hear more?
Do you have any advice on the students using the online ear training that's provided by the Royal Conservatory of Music? I, as a teacher, have never used it myself. Mm-hmm. And my two most advanced students are absolutely incredible players, fast learners, and they just hate this. I tell them, 3 days a week because I hope they'll do it once. Well, they do it about twice a month. Mm-hmm. They don't fail, but they've missed like first class honors with distinction because they didn't get those 2 extra marks on their ear training.
That's right.
And it's so unnecessary. It's a mark that you can earn by dedicated work.
It's frustrating. Yeah. It is. So I have a couple of resources. Besides RCM, they are all similar.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
They're all similar. It's this electronic sounding like pitch that you try your best to listen to. I think I noticed that you train them a lot. You practice with them at your lesson, and you use the tools in combination, and it does work. It does work. I mean, it's not the best, but it's better than nothing on their own time. They can team up with, like, say, for instance, I have group ear training class, and then the students can have their own little meetups on Zoom, and they can play intervals for each other. Yes?
How do you kind of plan a Zoom group ear training? Like what kind of sort of activities do you do? And how many kids might you have in a group?
Okay, so I used to have the largest was 3, and we have a half an hour class. So we will start with the intervals, and I introduce to them, start from zero scratch. I introduce them 2 intervals, say major third and an octave. Mm-hmm. And then I play and they take turns answering. Okay, so we drill that. Then we do that for 5-7 minutes. Then we move on to the chords. Okay, and I introduce few chords. We drill back and forth. I say minor chord, can you play minor chord at the piano? And the student will have to play at their own piano. Another one plays, play in E minor, play it in B minor. So try different keys, and then I play them with drill. Next, playback, same. So I section it off in little bits, and then I give them a score. Okay, did that answer your question?
Yeah.
And as far as scheduling, I talk to parents. I say, okay, both of Johnny and Linda are doing grade 8 exam in the springtime, and I think it will be very helpful to take it outside of the piano class. I have half an hour available on Monday. Does it work? No? Well, let's try to figure out. And we try, and it does work. It does work. What I find, if you are passionate about it, and you talk to your parents with passion, and you tell them it's really beneficial, it's like 2 points, as I said, there's 2 extra points that will make a difference from 88% and 90%. And you're passionate about it, and kids get very motivated, and parents get motivated. And yes?
Sorry. How do you get them to learn the interval songs? Like, let's say you take that approach.
Yes.
Do you say to them, look, this is your interval song for a major third. I need you to play it, memorize that. And do you actually make them play those little tunes?
I make them play a little bit of a beginning.
Yeah.
Yes, a little bit.
And you get them to memorize that?
That's right, yes.
Do you have them play it in different places?
Yes, yeah, okay. They can play at different places. They will pick a note, yes.
When you do your playbacks on Zoom, how do you conduct that? How does that go?
Oi, playback from Zoom, yes, it's tough. I play 3 times, and then, so if it's a group Zoom, one kid does it at a time. So I test one student, not everybody. So I test one, the other one quietly listens and goes, oh no, reacts. It's a lot of fun usually. So yes, and the child plays, and then sometimes I ask the other kid, was it correct? Goes, no, it was not good. I can do it better. And then they play it, and the other one, it's a lot of fun. Okay. Yeah, so one at a time.
And the same song for each?
Well, if the first one didn't get it, the other one gets a try. If the first one got it, the other one gets a new one. And then what I also do, I call it it's a high-level boot camp approach. The other one has to transpose it into another major. So what I do, I ask them to do a transposition of one song that I played in all of the major keys as well. Oh, they don't like it, but it's so good for them. Yeah, so another one, transposition.
Do you create your song or just follow the book?
Yeah, well, we're very limited there. Yeah, so we only have 12, 15 options, right, in RCM level 10. You can take, level 9 is useless because it's 2-part harmony, it's very easy. You can take level 8, level 7, level 6, and tweak them a little bit and ask students as a homework. You can assign, say for level 6, you can say, or 8, 1 first, 2nd, and 3rd, go home and come up with a left-hand accompaniment, 1-4-5-1, and transpose it in a few keys. The transposition always works because that gives them an idea of the harmony. Okay.
How do you work with rhythms?
I find the rhythms are quite simple for them. Even if the student is level 5 or level 6, I go way back into level 1, 2, 3, and then work them through all of the curriculum, because that's the only way. Okay, but I think the most important part is what I found, that there's not enough time during the lesson. There's nearly not enough time, and maybe we can teach them to be brilliant, but we are very limited with the time. So that's why I tell parents, guys, let's plan ahead of time and let's try to create a little bit class of outside of your piano lesson. Any more questions? Do you feel it was helpful for some parts? Yeah, we learned something or refreshed some information. I've assumed for a long time that some things, because I do have a lot of Russian trainings, that some things that I already know, it's maybe obvious, but my colleagues that I work with, they struggled with the students, and they say they don't sing solfege. Well, don't make them. Just memorize the songs. That's the best for the intervals. Shelley? Yeah. So thank you very much for your attention, and thank you very much for coming.
No, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for making the time. I know how busy you are. You're one busy lady. And it was so nice that we're in person. It was, because when we're on Zoom and we're doing workshops, I don't see you guys writing down stuff. I don't see you guys, typing stuff. It was just really nice to see. Because what you kind of said, I was going to say, is this is a really great refresher, but also there was a few really good tips, or maybe a whole bunch, I should say, sorry. Like, that little tidbits that why you guys keep coming is like, oh, right, that's right, I'm going to do that next lesson. Or, ooh, I never thought about that. That's great, and it was nice. I was watching you guys in the back, and you were like, oh, and then you were like writing stuff down. So,
Shelley, can I interrupt? Can I ask you a question? If you'd like to share, what was for you something like, oh, right, that makes sense, that you never thought of, just for my own.
Just the feedback, right?
Yes.
Boot camp.
Boot camp, right?
Yeah.
And it sounds good.
I like the triads, play 2 notes and they have to sing the next note.
Okay.
The next 2 notes.
Okay. Oh, that's great. Yeah. Okay.
The breaking down of groups of like intervals do like maybe the chords do like one of one mood and one of a different mood, and then add another once they're getting that right. I tend to kind of just give them the whole thing and go, okay, memorize all this, and that can get overwhelming sometimes.
That's right.
So breaking all that down.
I like that, about emotion, because that's what music is, right? That connection, and I think you said magic.
Magic.
Like we went just beyond that, and it is really true of what music's about, right? Of that connection, because we all talk about, happy and sad, but there's of course more emotions than happy and sad, right? So it's nice, because what you were saying before, everybody learns differently.
The individuals,
right?
yes, very individual.
And it was great, and and you're, thank you so much for sharing and taking the time, and you all coming on a Sunday. I am going to try and do a few more Sundays of just, of just different little things. And today we started with ear training, and I love it. I love the little Russian-Canadian fusion. And I love your spirit and your knowledge. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Again. So let's give it another round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you.